Hi, and this is Tan Tate. I'm the host of Tea Time with Tan and the co-host of Rolling with the Tates. And this morning I'm coming to you with a very special message regarding Thanksgiving. It's the day before Thanksgiving, so you may hear some bumbling and mumbling or actions going on in the background because I am preparing a huge Thanksgiving feast, I should say, for my family. And it's going to be Mr. Tate and myself celebrating Thanksgiving this year. But this is the first year in a while that we've celebrated Thanksgiving together as husband and wife. So I wanted to come, and I'm interrupting my normal podcast series, which we've been talking about, Griefing Your Brand. I'll pick back up with that next week with episode 3. But today I wanted to give you a special message from my heart. So you may notice there's no music. You may hear some running water as I prepare what I like to call angel eggs. Most people call them devil eggs or deviled eggs. But I call them angel eggs. And so I'm preparing that now. I've actually been up probably the last, 24 hours cooking. And I probably had a little power nap a little while ago. I think I lay down for about 45 minutes. I just kind of fell asleep, and now I'm back up and I'm in the kitchen. So I want to give you a few minutes like I always do, a get it together moment. Go get a pen, paper, gather your thoughts, clear your mind, get in a good space and a good place where you can be refueled, refreshed, and recharged. And I also want to inspire, motivate, and encourage you during this Thanksgiving holiday. And I want to talk to you a little bit about gratefulness, gratitude, because that's where I am today. Earlier this morning I was listening to a song by Hezekiah Walker, grateful. Flowing from my heart is gratefulness. Because I will tell you, I have been in a very dark place, a very, very dark place, where the only hope I had, the only light I had, was a glimmer of hope. And I want to tell you how I got to even that glimmer or that glimpse of hope, because sometimes I know life happens, and for me it was the tragic death of my daughter, and then a few years later my mom passed unexpectedly. She went to sleep and woke up in heaven, and prior to my mom passing, my oldest brother, who I was really close to, he passed away. So and then my nephew, who was 16, he committed suicide. So I felt like an umbrella of death that just resonated within who I was. And that propelled me to a place of darkness. I'll be honest with you. I didn't want to live. And sometimes I hear people say, well, what about your son? You had your son, you had your grandkids, you were married, because during this time I also got married. So what about all of those different elements? And here's what I want you to know, that when you're in a dark place, you really can't see the light. So yes, I love my son. I love my husband, my grandchildren, but I was just in a dark place. But I want you to know you can come out of those dark places. Here's what's worked for me. Even initially in the days that my daughter was killed, I began to just follow my face and listen to praise and worship. And I will tell you, yes, I was angry with God. I was angry with God. I was mad at God. But I knew the value in praise and worship. So I just began to listen to praise and worship. I remember laying on my face and just crying and crying and crying. And one of those songs I happened to listen to and let it just minister to me over and over and over and over again was that song by Hezekiah Walker. Because even in my daughter's death and the way she died, I still had an element of gratefulness. I was grateful that I ever even had her, because I had a difficult pregnancy. And when she was born, the doctors was like, it's a miracle that she's alive. And I had a difficult pregnancy because of domestic violence. Wow. And even the tragic way she died, I know that, Jesus met her and embraced her and comforted her until she took her final breath. So I was grateful for that. I was grateful that somehow I ended up being in the hospital. Somehow my body had begun to break down and I was admitted into the hospital. But I realized and I believe it was because God knew I needed to be in a safe place when I received the news about my daughter's death. So because I was in the hospital, they were able to take necessary precautions to protect my body, to protect my heart when I received that traumatic news. I hope you can see where I'm going with this. That no matter what you are dealing with, no matter where you're at, no matter what the situation looks like, no matter how dark it is, find gratefulness. Because that's going to carry you until you get to the light. Until you can see. Until you can breathe. Until you can feel. So to recap so far, praise and worship was a resource for me that helped me. And I did listen to a whole bunch of songs. I really I listened to one or two and went with those one or two and just let them minister to me. Just let them feed me. And that's why music is so important, because it resonates with your spirit. So whatever you're listening to is what your spirit is going to gravitate to. So if you're in a place of darkness, make sure that you can find music that's uplifting, it's inspiring, and it's wholesome. And I know you don't want to hear that. I know right now you want to be in your moment of your grief, of where you're at. But I'm telling you that it's important that you can find gratefulness, that you can be grateful in what you're going through. And that's going to help bring you to the light. Right now I'm stirring the egg mix for my angel eggs. So during this Thanksgiving holiday, because Thanksgiving is celebrated one day out of the year, but you should be grateful 365 days in a year. So the other days, and if it's a leap year, we know that's 366 days. So the other days, when it's not Thanksgiving, challenge yourself. What are you doing to celebrate you and others? How are you being grateful? How are you illustrating your appreciation for doctors, for lawyers, the bus drivers, the Lyft drivers, your friends, your neighbors, your family, your husband, your wife, your children, your grandchildren, your aunts, your uncles, your nieces, your nephews, your grandparents, great-grandparents? How are you showing an attitude of gratitude? And I want to put a pin in that for right now, because I really want to talk about you. Because you are valuable? How do you show your self-appreciation? How do you show your self-gratitude? Oftentimes we are our own worst critics. We can criticize ourselves to a T. So I want you to begin implementing, ways that you show your self-gratitude. Because see, it's sort of like self-love. Until you can love you, you really can't love anyone else. Until you can be grateful and have gratitude for yourself, it's hard for you to illustrate that to someone else. So begin to think about ways you can show your self-appreciation through spoken words and through actions. Again, through spoken words and through actions. Because if you can speak it, you can see it. And if you can see it, you can be it. So show yourself some gratitude. Be grateful for yourself. And then whatever ways that you determine you want to show yourself, how you treat yourself with gratitude, with gratefulness, use it as a trendsetter for the other people who you want to do it to. Even the strangers, the people you don't know. Because sometimes we have to prepare ourselves and we don't even know that we are preparing ourselves or setting ourselves up for something that may be tragic. You know, I was watching someone and they're a fitness guru, Felicia Brown Fee. She's a fitness guru, and she was sharing a story about some people who were dealing with illnesses and had injuries to their bodies, and the doctor was saying because they had previously been taking care of their bodies, it provided a shield of protection when the trauma hit their bodies. So you develop an attitude of gratefulness, of gratitude. Develop a worship way of life, a lifestyle, so that when you go through those traumatic places, when the unexpected happens, you're in a better position to get through that period of darkness, of grief. So this Thanksgiving holiday, I just want to remind you of the importance of gratitude, the attitude of gratitude, making it be a way of life. You know, I sort of invited you into my kitchen too. You didn't know you were coming into the kitchen, but you did. Because I'm excited. I'm happy to be at this point in life. Because I would tell you that this is probably the first Thanksgiving in about 10 years that I'm really finding my swag. I'm finding my stride. And this is normally my favorite time of the year. And I've had a challenge with it. But there is something on the other side of that pain. There is something on the other side of the tragedy. And on the other side of the pain, I call purpose. And on the other side of tragedy, I call triumph. So this is my triumphant moment. This is my purpose moment. So wherever you're at, develop gratitude. Even though the situation may not warrant thankfulness, find a reason to be thankful. Like I did when my daughter was killed. In that most traumatic time, I still was able to be grateful. I was grateful for what I did have. So I hope, I pray that wherever you're at, whatever you're going through, that you are refreshed for your journey, that there's a fresh anointing upon you, and that you know that you're going to make it. This has been a very special holiday Thanksgiving message from Tan, the host of Tea Time with Tan. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you are able to use it. And I'll talk to you